Okay, here's my Strikeforce Heavy Artillery review. Took place last night. I think from top to bottom was a good night. Some surprising performances, some performances, but overall it was a great night. No post-fight brawl, so that's good for Strikeforce. Yeah. So also, if I'm saying something wrong, like I was saying Raphael and Roger in my prediction video, and it's pronounced Raphael and Hodger, then hey, tell me. I take criticism. So yeah. Also, I'm doing a new thing. It's called What Is Next. It's pretty much anything after like a pretty big, mixed martial arts event. I'm going to discuss, the ups and downs of the card, which fighter moved up, which fighter moved down, whose stock is up, down, pretty much, what's next for each fighter, stuff like that. So it just gives me more time to discuss the card. You only get 10 minutes, and I want more time. So that's pretty much what it is. It's just another thing I do just to have more time to talk about the card. So first fight, Rafael Feijiao versus Antoine Britt. Feijiao won by first round TKO. But Britt was winning the round. I thought Antoine was winning the fight. He was the more aggressive fighter. He was landing the more harder, faster punches, I guess you could say. Sorry, I see something. So I just think Britt was, yeah, he was just being the more aggressive fighter. He pushed Feijiao into the cage more. I think it was like 2 or 3 times. Feijiao tried the multi-plum clinch, but he did it while his back was against the cage. Couldn't really do nothing with it. Pretty much probably just stopped from Britt from throwing punches. Britt landed some hard punches that could have ended the fight if I don't know, he landed some good punches to Feijiao, and it looked like it stunned Feijiao a little bit, but at the end, it took just one punch from Feijiao, landed clean on Britt. Britt was stunned. Feijiao just bum rushed him, flurry of punches, stopped the fight. So, great performance by Feijiao to end the fight, but also great performance before the knockout for Britt. So I was impressed by both. Good fight to start the card off. So yeah, I was impressed by both. Next fight, Kevin Randleman versus Roger Gracie. Gracie won by second round submission, rear naked choke. But I think Randleman surprised a lot of people. I think a lot of people already discredited Randleman, thought this was going to be an easy fight for Gracie, first round submission. But not only did Gracie attempt, he attempted twice to get to the ground, and Randleman had no part of it. The striking, Hodges showed. I thought his striking was going to be a little lackluster, but he showed good striking. He showed that he's not too bad on his feet, and that he only worked on it 20% for this camp. In his camp for this fight. So just think if he just improves his striking, he's going to be a dangerous heavyweight. But back to the Randleman, he showed that, the 2 attempts that he tried was in the beginning of the fight, and Randleman just pushed Gracie off of him. The second one was during the second guillotine attempt. Hodger tried the guillotine and took it to the ground kind of, and then Randleman just swiggled himself out of it and got out of it. So Randleman showed that, he wasn't going to get taken to the ground that easily. Second round happened. Well, I gave the first round 10-9. Hodger was just more aggressive. Second round, Randleman starts the round off with a good body combination that looked like kind of didn't hurt Gracie. Well, probably hurt Gracie, but Gracie didn't like it. He started throwing punches, backed up Randleman, and at the 4th minute of the 35-second mark, it looked like Randleman's right knee buckled, and that kind of started the downfall for Randleman. After that, Gracie was just being way more aggressive, started throwing a lot more punches, and they were landing. The fight got pushed back to the cage. Gracie's back against the cage. He tried the guillotine one more time, but Randleman got out of it. But as they were separating, Gracie threw a knee, and boom, landed flush, dropped Randleman, went to the ground, started in the north-south position. But soon enough, Gracie got the mount, tried the arm triangle, Randleman got out of it. But as he was getting out of it, Gracie got his back. Took longer than I thought, a little over a minute, but finally submitted Randleman in the second round with the rear naked choke. I was impressed by Hodger, just his striking. I don't know, he looked impressive with his striking. I thought he wouldn't be that, I don't want to say evolved, but just his striking was a lot better than I thought. Randleman showed that I think this performance was a lot better than his past ones. Even though he did lose, I still think he's still there. Is he going to be in the title picture? No, but I still think, for these up and comers, you test him against Randleman. Now, if he continues this, I hope this loss doesn't deter Randleman, because if he continues the way he's fighting, he's going to beat some of these young guys who think, oh, I can just go through anyone. He's going to stop him. So I was very impressed with Randleman, and also very impressed with Roger Gracie. Next fight, Jakar Souza, or Jakar versus Joey Villasenor. Souza won by unanimous decision. One judge gave it 30-27, the other two 29-28. I gave it 29-28 to Souza. The story of this fight, takedowns. That was it. Villasenor could not stop Souza from taking him down. But also, I was impressed with Villasenor. He continuously, once he got taken down, he got right back up. Might have taken him like 30 seconds to a minute, but he would get back up. And it was just, I was very impressed with Villasenor. Obviously Souza's the better grappler. I thought, once it hit the ground, Villasenor, even though he's a veteran, he's been there a while, I thought Souza was just going to keep it to the ground, but that didn't happen. Villasenor kept getting up. The second and third round, his striking was just way too much for Souza. I mean, he landed some hard punches to Souza. And after the fight, Souza's nose was bloody, his mouth was just bleeding. It was just, you could definitely see that Joey had the better striking than Souza there. But Souza had the takedowns. He took him down multiple times, and I think that's what won him the fight. But I was very impressed with Villasenor. I was more impressed with Villasenor than Souza, but I did give the fight to Souza just due to his takedowns. So yeah. Next fight, Andre Arlovski versus Antonio Silva. All Silva. Surprisingly, Silva was the better striker. I thought if Silva would win, it would have gone to the ground, and he would have ground and pounded for 3 rounds, or would have got the knockout. But he owned Arlovski on the feet. He just outstruck him. He threw the harder punches. He threw the more punches. I gave 1 round to Arlovski, but the other 2 were just pure dominance. And that one I did give him could have gone to Silva. But the judges, I think all of them gave him 29-28 to Silva. So yeah, Arlovski, I don't think he's done yet, but I don't think he's going to be in the title picture either anymore. Very similar to Kevin Randleman. But yeah, I'll discuss more of that on my what's next video for this card. I just think Antonio Silva, impressive, but I just don't think he can beat the upper tier heavyweights in the Strikeforce. So yeah, next fight was Alistair Overeem versus Brett Rogers for the Strikeforce heavyweight title. Overeem first round TKO. Dominance for Overeem. Brett Rogers looked very tentative in the beginning of the fight. He was moving back. I don't think I've ever seen Rogers move back. He was moving side to side and just didn't look like Rogers. Overeem was the more aggressive fighter. He threw the more punches on the feet. It was a very short time that they were on the feet, but while they were on the feet, Overeem was the more aggressive fighter then, and he was the more aggressive fighter on the ground. He kind of shoved Rogers to the ground, off balance Rogers. And right as soon as it hit the ground, it was all over. It ended up in the side control for Overeem. He threw a few elbows, but mostly was that one big knee. And that's what made Rogers attempt to get up. Overeem tried to get a guillotine in, but figured out, hey, it's not in tight, I'm going to release it. Rogers went back to the back, onto the ground, and Overeem just dominant. At the end of the fight, not taking anything away from Overeem's victory, but I at least counted 6 or 7 illegal punches to the back of the head of Rogers. 3 or 4 were clearly in the back of the head. I think Overeem would have won it anyways, but I'm just saying, I didn't hear any warning, nothing at all. So yeah, but once again, Overeem just looked good. He looked great, actually. Dominance over Rogers. Do I think Rogers is overrated? No. I think Rogers will be back. I think, he can beat Antonio Silva. I think it should be Rogers, Antonio Silva next. I'll discuss that once again in my next video. But I think Antonio Silva, he most likely will get the title shot against Overeem next, even though I think it's Fedor, but I don't think M1's going to have Fedor fight Overeem. I just think, I don't know. I don't like M1. I think M1 kind of cushions Fedor a little too much. But yeah, so great performance by Overeem. Just dominance by Overeem over Brett Rogers. Overall, it was a great night, I thought. So another great card by Strikeforce. Once again, hopefully I didn't run out of time, but don't forget to watch my next episode of What Is Next. It's for this card, Strikeforce Heavy Artillery. So overall, great night of fights once again. And there you go. So adios, and have a good night. Or a good day.